Matt Lenihan Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store and Our Kings Competitions. We're here, Jamie Moore. Jamie, another huge night ahead for Jack Catterall, headlining again for the second time at this beautiful new arena. I think in the country now, when you're looking around and how things have evolved, this has to be probably the best arena in the country, and another opportunity for him to stake his claim for hopefully a world title after this. I think he thinks he's like the Mr. Final Eliminator at the minute, but just talk to me about Jack and how he's what sort of mind frame he's in for this camp.
Yeah, same Jack Catterall. It's always the same mindset, nice and focused, tunnel vision. He's been elevated to interim title status, which, you know, I'm not a fan of stuff like that, but in this individual circumstance, I think it's a good shout because no one really knows what Teofimo is going to do. It's not fair, the fact that he's just sat there with the belt waiting for, you know, to see how things play out. He's not had a mandatory for a long time and stuff like that. So the sensible thing to do was to try and nudge him into making a decision, which they've given him a sort of defend your belt within 3 months to the winner, or they'll be elevated to full champion. So even though it's not for the full world title, in effect, it probably will be.
Is that in your? I know it's hard to say this because I think he's deserving of a world title shot, but does it almost take a little bit of the shine off it? Because, you know, when you fight for the vacant belt, sometimes circumstances, the occasion, it's correct. But Jack should be fighting for a world title now, and in everybody's opinion. But the fact he might not have that moment as the new world champion, it's the interim champion, and Teofimo, you know, moves on and then he just gets elevated. It's almost like I think it almost takes away a little bit from your moment. Not a lot, because it's a big moment, but do you look at it like that and think it sort of does a little bit?
Listen, his moment was 2.5 years ago. Well, 3 years ago actually now, yeah. But there's nothing you can do about that now. And if that happens and he becomes interim champion and then is elevated because Teofimo doesn't box him, then there's literally nothing you can do about it. He'll still be world champion. You know, if Teofimo's not going to box Jack, or he's going to move up to welterweight, then surely the right thing to do, knowing if you're not going to box at the weight again, is to just give it up now, so that him and Barboza can just go and box at a vacant title now. So that's what I would love that scenario to unfold. We've still got a month. In that month, if he decides to give it up, then brilliant.
Well, I think we're on the verge of seeing some news with Teofimo. We saw him at the Ring Magazine Awards, and I think I've seen a lot of pictures this morning, so my head's a bit frazzled, but I can't remember if he was there with contracts and people to sign stuff. I know Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney are potentially fighting on the same card to set up then their rematch in October, but it looks like he's in talks, so I don't know what them talks would be, and if it is a move up, he gets what he wants, he's been world champion anyway, and then you guys get what you want.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, he's a phenomenal fighter, and if his ambition is to go to welterweight and win a world title at welterweight, then, you know, hats off to him. He's an absolute unbelievable fighter. But from our own selfish personal point of view, I'd love for him to make that decision in the next month, so that at least it can be for the vacant title rather than the interim belt. We'll see.
Yeah, we've seen a bit of Arnold Barboza. I think a lot of people thought that Sean McComb went and did a good job on him, and was unlucky to get the nod that night. It's a very important fight for Jack, and obviously it sets up some potentially life-changing financially, but, you know, legacy fights, unifications. He always seems so, like, I don't know what the word is, not placid, but laid back, not bothered about the occasion, and he's had some big ones now. Is that like a bit of a load off for you as a fighter? Because he's a different personality to, I would say, a Cameron Vaughn, who's like, you know, life and soul when he walks in, and he's just like, yeah, come and you go.
Yeah, of course he is, and in many ways, he's the ideal type of temperament to have from a coach's point of view. You know, never once have I had to sit with Jack in a changing rooms because I think he looks like he's overthinking it or he's nervous, and, you know, he's sort of. I say this, I use this term all the time about him. He's like bulletproof. There's nothing what anyone can do to ruffle him. You know, Josh, a couple of times during the build-up to their fight, tried his best to ruffle him. It's near enough impossible to do it, and I think when you get into this stage now in someone's career where you get into that world and elite, where, you know, he wins a world title, he's going to be boxing some of the best fighters in the world anyway. You have got to have that type of cool, calm, collected temperament to be able to handle that occasion, and he was made for it. He was born for it.
Let me just ask you, the fighters on the card, the likes of Alfie Middlemas. I was there for his professional debut, I believe, in Liverpool. Actor turned fighter. I know he's fought in the background as well, but exciting times. It's a different road path for him. But you've a few fighters here going out, and it's a good time to be in this stable.
Busy gym at the minute, and I'm glad that Jack's at the stage he's at now, because he's sort of reaping the benefits of all his hard work and his discipline. These kids coming through now, I say kids, now the 20, 23, 24-year-olds, but Alfie's 21. We've got Conor Tudsbury and Pat Brown from Nigel's amateur club. Alfie's from this club for Warden ABC, and they're all turning over at the same time. So there's like one from my amateur club, two from Nigel's, and they're in the gym with someone like Jack, who's got so much experience, and you can see that work ethic and that routine what he has, and they're learning from him. So they're setting off. They're at the beginning of their career, but they're witnessing somebody at the top end of the game and how to do it. So it's a blessing for them to see. It's like a conveyor belt. Jack had it with Frampton, Martin Murray, Rocky Fielding, and Chantel. That sort of work ethic. He was behind them and followed through, and he saw that what was happening. And in all honesty, I always knew that Jack would be able to do it, because he was the consummate professional anyway. But I'm just glad that these ones coming through now, the younger ones who are in this gym, are getting to witness it and first hand with Jack.
Definitely. Look, I've got to ask you about some other things going on in the boxing world as well. Huge fights getting announced left, right and centre at the minute. That Feb 22nd card's an absolute madness. We'll talk about that another day. Ben Eubank is done, April 26th, waiting for announcement. We think it's Spurs. What's your sort of thoughts on it, with all the history that's gone on to it? I was speaking to Dan Raphael on this, got his side of it last night. Are you excited for this?
Listen, it's an occasion for me. In terms of both fighters, you would expect a fight of this magnitude, one of them or both of them have been world champions, especially when someone's jumping up 2 weights. But that's not the case. They've built their own individual reputations after becoming well known because of their dad's names. And Nigel Benn, I was the biggest Nigel Benn fan you've ever known, and this is giving me sort of nostalgia vibes. I went to Ben Eubank 2 at Old Trafford when I was 14 years old. So it's more, for me, it's not like two of the best fighters in the world. One's a welterweight, one's a middleweight. We'll see, these weight divisions for a difference. We'll see it. It's more about, it's an occasion. It's like these two guys don't like each other. They're both very good fighters in their own right, but they're in big shoes. They've got big shoes to fill in terms of following their dad's footsteps. I always think it's not fair to be compared to your dad, especially when the legends like Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank. But it's a fight, and the big question for me is Chris Eubank Jr. just been too big? Conor Benn can punch, but to what extent and at what level? We know Eubank historically has had a good chin, but Liam Smith done a number on him. Let's be honest. So it's intriguing more than anything.
What sort of statement would it be if Conor Benn managed to jump up 2 weights and stop Chris Eubank Jr.? And people can say what they want about Chris, whether they think he's world level or not. He's operated at a lot higher weight. He's had some big fights, some big occasions, higher level fights than Conor. What sort of statement would that be if Conor managed to do that?
George Groves, one of the biggest punchers at super middleweight, and he couldn't get rid of him. So now that's the question for me is how sturdy is Chris Eubank Jr. at middleweight? And if I don't know whether it's going to happen, but I seen a thing the other day about a rehydration clause, which I did see an interview a few weeks ago.
Are you a fan of them?
No, I'm not, because if you've made weight, you've made weight. There should be no concern of yours what I weigh the next day, as long as on the official weigh-in I've made weight fairly, and also you've got to take into consideration sticking to the rules. Going on an IV drip afterwards is obviously against the rules. So there's stuff like that where that will be people's concerns. Are they sticking to the rules? Because is it an unfair advantage? But the fact of the matter is, when you've made the official weight, what I weigh or what he weighs the next day should be irrelevant. We've made weight officially, as to the rules, and made the best man win.
I think they're doing it obviously because of the jump up from Conor, but then obviously you mentioned the other side of it and takes it away from Chris, I suppose, as well. Look, moving on from that, Tyson Fury's announced his retirement. I speak to a lot of people and they're saying, look, seen this before, he'll come back. Do you think he walks away with all that money on the table for a Joshua fight? No, even at this stage of both their careers.
Well, the facts of the matter is is a multi-millionaire anyway.
Yeah.
So $500 million is a hell of a lot of money, but what type of difference is that going to make to his life? I don't think it would change it any way to it is now. So I think the Dick Turpin wearing a mask comment means, listen, I'm retired, but if someone wants to coax me out of retirement with $500 million, then I'm going to be Dick Turpin and I'll rob $500 million. I think that was his thought process to it, because it's win-win for him. He can either walk off into the sunset and be happy with retirement, or he gets coaxed out of retirement for $500 million, and then after the fight, win or lose, he goes into retirement anyway.
Last one, are you going to be disappointed if we don't see the fight? Are you interested in it as a spectacle? I know people are saying, look, they're not champions anymore, but for the fight fans and the history, the back and forth, the fact it's nearly been done, will you be a bit gutted?
I've always said it'd be a crying shame if we never see that fight. I'm not as interested now, because it should have happened years ago. Even if it would have happened in the last summer, when there was talks of it happening, perfect. But it always tends to happen where when there's less at risk, the people start to take a gamble more. And I would still watch it. I'd still like to see it, but I'm not as interested now as I was last year or even 3 years ago.
Well, look, it's interesting to get your thoughts on that. Huge implications for what's coming up. We're looking forward to seeing Jack back in action, obviously. Pat Brown, Alfie Middlemiss. It's a thriving gym at the minute, and it's interesting to see the sort of the spinning wheel, as you were, of what goes on. And we're here at Walkden. Look, the last interview we did in Saudi, I think we did about half hour, and it got really good feedback. We were speaking on how boxing's changed lives, but this gym's been a huge part of that. Just quickly touch on the impact of this gym and what it's had.
This place, we're actually moving from here. They're flattening this part of the shopping centre and they're moving us around the corner, but it's a very similar size unit. But I promise you, this place is the best thing I've ever done in boxing. I promise you. I was in here on Tuesday coaching with the kids, and I was stood here just looking around, just like with a smile on my face. It's ace, and like every single kid. You're talking about kids who couldn't even look you in the eye or had no manners at all when they first walked in the door, and now in the carded class boxing for us, and at the end of every session they walk over and they go, thank you Jamie, thank you Callum. Like, it's insane the way it's changed kids' lives, and it's my pride and joy, this place, I swear to you.
Yeah, long may it continue. Look, if you don't follow them on Instagram, follow them, Walkden ABC. Yeah, it's the different side to boxing we don't see, but it's the good side. It really is. It's the proper people. Jamie, appreciate your time.
Cheers, pal. Thank you.